Hello, everyone. Welcome to Driftwood Conversations. I'm Hillary Sloan. Today I'm talking with someone you might already know from the JT Trading Post or afternoons at Frontier Cafe. Charles Ftacek is a clinical nutritionist, doctoral student, apothecary maker, and a man who has lived many lives to find the one that fits him now. Charles's story is remarkable. He experienced depression and suicidal thoughts growing up, spent years working in the music industry, and underwent several healing journeys before discovering a genetic condition that changed everything. Now he's close to finishing his doctorate in clinical nutrition and looking forward to helping our community understand health through combined perspectives of science, lived experience, and the soul's ability to heal. This conversation moves through men's health, nutrition, trauma, spirituality, community, and the quiet ways we lift one another, sometimes with nothing more than a kind word. Charles speaks with honesty and humor, and above all, with a belief that we can adjust our internal dial toward wellness, even if it's one small degree at a time. I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you're doing in Morongo Basin?
So about a year and a half ago, I started my doctorate, and I wanted a place where I could relax and slow down, get fresh air. In my line of work, environment and lifestyle, it has so much to do with disease, progression, and our health and wellness. And so I really wanted a place that I could sort of put my money where my mouth is and live in a clean environment with lots of outdoor activities and
Explain what you do.
Oh, yeah. So I am doing my doctorate in clinical nutrition, so functional medicine. So I'm a board-certified functional medicine practitioner, and we look at disease and we look at health and wellness from a perspective of environmental, like lifestyle factors. So we'll talk about some of the biggest things we talk about are sleep, nutrition. We talk about our relationships. We talk about sex. We talk about sort of all of the things, movement, stress, environmental toxins, all of these aspects that we're all encountering on a daily basis, how they sort of make and mold us and contribute to whether we're going to stay healthy or does a disease set in, or if a disease has already set in, how can we sort of slow the progression and maybe navigate it a little bit, swing the pendulum in the other direction?
Where did you come from? Where were you? What were you doing just before this?
So before I moved here to Joshua Tree, I actually was in San Diego. I went to Bastyr. It's the top naturopathic medical school in the world, but I went there to do my master's, and I did my residency there as well in clinical nutrition.
And how long have you been here?
January will be a year.
Whoa, welcome.
Thank you. And I survived the summer, my first summer. So I think I've earned my place to stay here for a while.
Does weather, heat, cold, do those affect the body?
Absolutely.
How does that work?
They have a profound effect on your physicality, your hormones, your stress levels, and all of those play into each other. So when we talk about, especially during the summertime, since I was crying about that a second ago, but the summertime here in the desert, it zaps you of electrolytes. It zaps you of your energy, which can start wreaking havoc on diet and physical movement. And so we really need to make sure not only are you staying hydrated, but sort of the rule is for every 16 ounces of water you drink, you need to have at least 8 ounces of electrolytes. And that's just if you're sitting around doing nothing. But the electrolytes play a big role in our digestive tract, your nervous system. And then if we don't have a balanced nervous system, the brain's not firing, the hormones aren't firing, your whole system gets thrown off.
Now, I think you told me you were working on men's health. Do you see only men, or do you work with women too?
No, I work with both men and women. I do feel like men are kind of underrepresented for a couple reasons. I think women tend to be more open to talking about their health. And also women's health is very complex, right? There's a lot to it. Men are a lot more simple, but men, whether it's socio upbringing, men just don't like to talk about, they sort of like to just stuff it or maybe be ignorant about how they feel. And so I'm trying to change that little by little, get men to open up, to really talk about it, and to start shedding some of the habits that men think they have to have, which, we have to be, I think men are taught, whiskey is masculine, substances, whether it's tobacco or whatnot, has to, is a masculine characteristic, and silence and no sharing emotion, no expressing how you feel. We can't even ask for directions sometimes. So how can you ask for help when you don't feel good?
This came up for me with friends, so I'm going to ask this. Is there a male menopause?
Men are cycling through their hormones all the time as well. If we're not sleeping well, if our nervous system is shot, we're not doing acts of self-care, and we're really keeping the nervous system down, men's hormones can fluctuate up and down constantly. It's a little different, but men do go through andropause, which could later in life, when testosterone levels start to naturally fall, or maybe because of stress, environmental exposures, things like that.
Also prostate problems, isn't that?
Yeah, prostate.
It's a big thing for older men.
Well, I will tell you that 1.6 million new diagnoses of prostate cancer are going to happen in 2025. And of that, 375,000 men are going to die this year because of prostate cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And so when we go back to speculating why, men don't ask. Men
don't check it out.
Yeah. And there's, especially with the prostate, right? There's an embarrassment about it.
Yeah.
There's a masculinity perception about that whole area. And so we don't ask for help. And we may notice the signs and symptoms, but we don't want to face it, and we don't want to talk about it. So it can go undiagnosed for a long time.
So the numbers you just gave me, has that changed from the year before, or?
Absolutely. I don't know the numbers for 2024, but we do see an increase year over year.
Oh my goodness. And we don't know why that's happening.
I think it's pretty clear when you're in sort of my world, when we're inundated with nutritional stats and environmental and stress levels. People in general nowadays are put on such a high level of output and demand. And especially men, we don't feel safe to share our emotions or whatever our upbringing is. And I know that's a generalization, but we see it in healthcare that men just don't talk about it. Yeah.
What's happening now that is creating these conditions for prostate cancer?
Cancer can manifest there's genetic portions of cancer. Like for breast cancer, maybe 5 to 10% of women have genetic predispositions to it. I don't know that's the genetic predisposition for men in cancers. There are some genetic links to it, but what's happening now is the increased stress, the toxic exposure of our environment, our diet. The diet in America is trash. We're not eating a diet rich in healthy fruits and vegetables, fiber. We're loading up on sugar. We're loading up on ultra-processed foods here in America, and those just exacerbate the sort of the pathway to it, and we're talking about alcohol. This people hate it when I bring up alcohol because it can be such a vice for people, but one drink can be enough to flip a gene. So we think of a genetic expression as like a light switch, right? So one drink. And let's flip to breast cancer. 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer, right? It's so heavy. It's such a big thing. And one alcoholic beverage can flip that switch to say whether that gene's going to express or not. But we don't talk about it. We sort of idolize and we socialize drinking. But so we've got, taking it back to men, we've got alcohol consumption, we've got tobacco, we've got vaping, we've got just the lack of fruits and vegetables, the lack of movement, the lack of all the lifestyle factors. Taking care of ourselves, sleeping, testosterone production in men is crazy. It's really going down right now.
What about, so we're lumping all men together, but you've got ethnic groups, cultural groups, different, religious propensities that all affect different groups differently.
Yeah. So with prostate cancer specifically, for men, we know that black men will die. I just actually read this today. Black men are more susceptible to developing, I hope I'm getting this right, are more susceptible to developing and dying from prostate cancer. Asians are less. And then I think for white men, I don't remember exactly what it was, but for white men, it was the diagnosis is still large, but the treatment can be more effective.
So economics must play a big part of this.
Yeah.
Who has health insurance?
Oh, gosh. In my world, that's a tough one. It leaves a big gap for people. So in my field, we do a lot of specialized testing, dive really deep into sort of inside the cell, and we're looking at the different pathways of the body and how they all respond to each other to support overall health and wellness. And when we've got socioeconomic issues, it puts a big gap in healthcare. So the people that need healthcare can't afford it, or the access is very limited, or something I hear all the time with people on sort of state supplied healthcare is that they generally seem to be lesser policies, and so the wait times can be exuberant, or getting something cleared by insurance can be a year down the road. It can be a step-by-step process. Whereas if you don't have insurance and you want to pay cash, we can just get right to it, right? And so that puts a big gap in healthcare. And it makes, for so many people, especially in communities like ours, the rural communities, it makes health and wellness out of reach. It makes health and wellness education out of reach. And nutrition is being something that is being stripped from our education systems from early age on up to college. They're pulling the nutrition out of education for some reason.
Oh, and they're what, diminishing or cutting SNAP benefits? I mean, it's just...
That's gone too.
And that's gone too, yeah. And it's exposure too.
Yeah.
It's like not just education. I didn't get that education in school. I mean, I grew up in the 60s, so it was just really coming into consciousness. There was a book that came out in the 60s, and it was, I can't think of the name right now. I hope I do before the conversation ends, but it changed everything. And we were talking about it. People were talking about it. My mother hated vegetables. I don't know why. And when she cooked meat, she burned the hell out of it. It was carcinogenic.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had exposure early on from that, just talking to friends and understanding there were different ways to eat.
Well, and it's funny that you talk about growing up with burnt meat, because that's what my brother and I, it was burnt chicken and burnt hot dogs on the grill all the time. And now we know that those are called acrylamides. They produce acrylamides, and those are now carcinogenic. So we know that now. So don't burn your meat and veggies and stuff. Yeah, there's these conversations around nutrition and agriculture and the chemicals. They don't. It's so weird because they just keep getting recycled decade after decade. And are we solving them? Are we really moving towards, as a country, are we moving towards sort of putting all that to rest and like really coming up with good solutions for our food and for our food system? And so I feel like, to try to change the government or the FDA or the USDA or the big players in our agricultural system, if we can just keep educating about making good decisions around fruits, vegetables, grains, how do you prepare them, how do you cook them, how do you wash them, how do you select them, all the things. I think we can put the power back in our own hands, you know?
I think that's vital right now. What's happening overall in our country, we have to take the power back. And that doesn't mean storming the Capitol.
No, it does not. It means plant a garden.
Plant a garden.
Storm your own garden.
Talk to your neighbor.
Yeah.
Talk to the kids that live down the block. Offer them an orange, maybe. Conversations.
Well, it's community.
Yes.
We get so far away from that. And every patient that shows up in front of me, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, sometimes I have political figures that are in front of me, and sometimes it's a mom or a dad or a son or a daughter, whoever it is. We always address lifestyle factors, and we always address these. Everybody's so highly stressed. And when we're highly stressed, we're not eating right, we're not building community, we're not taking the time to prepare our own foods or to grow our foods or, and this is a generalization because I know there's a lot of communities out there that are really making attempts. We get so far away from what matters, really nurturing ourselves, and what's fast, cheap, and easy. And I'm guilty of this too because I had a long night last night after coming back from LA, and I have to confess I did have In-N-Out for the first time. So do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I went out to dinner last night and it was all fried. It's very hard to cook all the time.
It is. And I own my own business and I'm finishing my doctorate. Even though I'm a single man with no children, that busy schedule puts it in front of me what people really experience. And so when I have patients show up in front of me and they're a nurse, they're a doctor, they're a politician, or they're a mom, I get it. Buying food, taking the time to learn how to prepare it, and then actually preparing it on top of all your other responsibilities. And then here I am telling you to find time for self-care and exercise and sleep well and make sure you're having a healthy sex life and all these other things that are so important. You're like, wait, what? No, I'm going through the drive-thru. I'm getting a pizza. One of my patients travels all around the world. And so he's always in front of big players that like to wine and dine. And we have to come up with techniques. When you're in these situations, how do you take the power back to where you can still socialize and have a great time, but also still stay in your best your best health? So when you go out, instead of having martinis, can you have are you good with soda water and lime? That way you still feel like you're part of the blend, but you know that alcohol is not good for you. You don't want it. Or if you're traveling, I have one patient who's a traveling doctor, and can we put you in a kitchen? Can we put you in an extended stay hotel where you can actually prepare your own foods and not have to go through the drive-thru all the time?
That's interesting. I have a couple questions. It's interesting you have a doctor you're working with.
Yeah, I actually see doctors and nurses. Yeah.
That's amazing. Where are you working out of?
So I have my own practice. I own a company called Mountain Valley Farm. We're clinical nutrition. I have an apothecary, and then we also do nutrition education. We'll take all kinds of conditions. If it is something that I'm not comfortable with, where I don't know enough, then obviously we'll refer out. But for so much of it, it's learning how to, or teaching the patient how to balance their lifestyle and slowly taking the steps to modify it to where they can still be who they have to be and do what they have to do, but they're just tweaking it and bringing back in some of those health tactics.
Interesting. For a while, especially after the heart operation I just had.
Which is wild. but so
Yeah.
cool.
They changed out my artery for people that don't know, and I was fine. I mean, it's amazing procedures they're doing now, and it's happening every day. My brother-in-law had the same procedure, a couple, within this last year. Same doctors. This was out of Eisenhower, and so they're very, very good. But I realized I had to start changing my diet because I'd gotten really bad. I mean, sweets, chocolate was my my meal.
I'll teach you how to eat the right chocolate the right way.
Okay.
And then you won't have to let it go.
What I did for a while, but I fell out of the rhythm of it, is I was writing everything down and double checking, actually using AI at times to say, this is what I'm eating, and what do you think? And it came back with, that's sort of balanced, but it's a little off. Add some lemon. Something that simple. Add lemon to your salad.
Yeah.
Add lemon to your salmon. Make sure you get a protein.
Yep.
I mean, it was great, and then I fell out of it again.
Sure.
So it's getting back to it and finding some way to really discipline myself without forcing it.
And whether, like you went through the heart operation, whether it's a big deal like that, or whatever the condition is, or whatever the situation is, we are so far as a society, we're so far pulled from those things, right? Where some of those things used to be common sense. They used to just be sort of status quo. We're so far removed from that. And it is very true that AI can play a really cool part in helping people change their behaviors, because I would say behavior change is the biggest hurdle I see in my industry. Getting people to drink water is they'd probably rather be beat up or something than drink more water. But one step at a time. It was a bit hard for me because I might get a patient in front of me, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, you do this, and this, and this, and here's your big list of things to do. And the person's like, wait, what? And so I remember when I was in my residency and I was doing that because I was all excited to see people. And I'm like, oh yeah, here's what you do. And here's all the changes you need to make. And nothing was getting done. And I didn't realize that, whoa, you're overwhelming them. This is a step-by-step process to get people back to learning, to teach people. And so simply, let's just swap out our dressing instead of ranch or whatever it is. And I'm talking about the ultra processed ranch. There's a lot of good ranches now that we can do, but let's just add some olive oil. It's so cardioprotective. Little squeeze of lemon, or some extra herbs and spices on our salad with olive oil. I mean, we can make some awesome salad dressings at home, and 2 minutes.
Right. It doesn't take much to do it. I happen to love that anyway. Before we go too much further, I want to go back to you, where you came from, how you got into this, because you were not always in this.
No, God, no. This is crazy. So I was born in Kentucky, and West Kentucky, and we moved to Arizona. I was raised in Arizona for like 20 years, and then I ended up getting a record deal, and I love country music. And so I ended up, when I was 24, I ended up moving to Nashville. And so I've been in Nashville the last, 20 some odd years. In fact, my truck plates still have my Nashville tags on them. I just can't let Nashville go. But so I was in the music industry, but my whole life, since I was a little baby, I had suicidal thoughts and depressed, anxious. I used to really be embarrassed to talk about it. And so I think this is kind of the first time I've actually shared it with anybody, especially, I don't know how many people are listening, but here it goes. So when I was growing up, I was a cutter. So I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was always, thinking about suicide, and I was cutting. I would mostly do it on my forearms. I was always wearing long sleeves to cover it up for my parents or teachers or whatever. And as I look back now, I was doing it because I had so much tension, emotional frustration with no way to express it. And sort of that was the way it could manifest, It was very bizarre. I ended up getting a record deal. And while I was going through that process, I had come across a beautiful man who said, hey, I'm going to try to help you with this. And so I
did
tapes.
Not help you with the album or with the cutting?
Oh,
and you jumped there. It's not
sorry.
clear. Yeah.
So they wanted to help me with the depression and the anxiety because it was clearly a block with me going forward.
Was this person involved in the music company?
This person actually was my first partner.
Okay.
He's a really lovely man, and we're not together now, but not involved in the music industry, but really wanted to support me in sort of overcoming this and figuring out what it was. And so I would do books on tape. I went to the most expensive rehab centers in the world and trying to get to the bottom of this depression and anxiety. And when I was growing up, let me back up and say when I was growing up, the treatment for that was take this drug, take this social anxiety drug, take this. And at one point I was on 3 different medications and I had no emotion, none. I was a zombie. And I still felt the same way. Like I still was depressed and suicidal, but I couldn't feel anything. I'd gone through a few rehabs to try, and when I say rehabs, they're just health and wellness rehabs to try to get to the bottom of it. The third one, I got to go to Minnesota to a place called the Health Recovery Center, and it was run by a lady named Dr. Joan Larson. She's since passed away, but she changed my life. Like she's literally one of my favorite people. She's definitely one of my sheroes. She found out I have a genetic condition called pyroluria, and it's a genetic condition where the body rids itself of more B6 and zinc. And those are 2 key components to over 150 plus biochemical pathways in the body. They're so crucial for serotonin, for melatonin, for all your processes, right? Zinc is responsible for over 300 and B6 is 150 different chemical pathways. And so I literally walked in there. It was a live-in program for 6 weeks. I walked out of there completely off my medication, really 100% depressed free. And that was 2006. And I've stopped cutting as soon as I left the program. Other than situational depression and anxiety, it's gone. So what I had to do is I got to learn how to change my diet for me, getting back to those basics. For me, I know that I need to eat a higher fat, higher protein diet with a lot of fruits and vegetables. And I take B6 and zinc. And that's it. That's it.
And what was happening with the music company at this time?
Yeah, so it was the music industry can be so fickle. And so it was doing its thing, but I didn't feel good. I was so anxious and depressed while I was going through this process that I couldn't really devote everything to it, right? It was sort of having one foot in but then secretly being depressed and anxious. And when I went to the rehab center in 2000, to this health recovery center, and I sort of left the industry for 6 weeks, and I came back and I reevaluated things. And I had my own farm by then, and I said, you know what? I'm still doing the music thing. It's a lot of fun, but I think I want to be Dr. Joan Larson. Like I want to know what she knows. This was amazing. Like how many people are going through the same thing? And so I ended up leaving the music industry, and a lot of people were really pissed at me, but I said, no, I'm done. And I had there was additional record label interest, there was management interest, and I just finally said, no, I'm done. And that was 2017. And I decided that I was finally going to go back to college and start that process. So I did my undergraduate in 2017. I did it in 2 years. And then I went on to do my master's and my residency and boards. And now I'm doing my doctorate, and I'll finish with that in June. It's so funny because people still recognize me from the music industry, and they're like, do you miss it? And no, I don't. Like I don't know. It's like when you get into alignment with your purpose, everything feels good.
That's amazing. It's profound because so few people really find their purpose, number one. and then have the courage to fully go for it.
Well, and like it sucked going through all of it, right?
Yeah.
Life can beat the hell out of you sometimes. I finally got to a point, and it was really during my undergraduate degree, I think I got to a point where I started seeing people who believed in my potential at university. They believed who I could be, not who I used to be. And when I started seeing myself the way they saw me, as not a victim, not depressed, not anxious, not suicidal, not a cutter, I began to see myself that way too. Because when you spend most of your life that way, it just sort of, that becomes your identity. It becomes just your perception, your identity. It's such a big part of you. And so my professors and my deans, they saw me in a different way. And then so I started to see myself in a different way.
Yeah.
As we go on to study those patterns, how our nerves reconnect in the brain. I'm not a neurologist, but in fact, that was my hardest subject in my doctorate was neurology. It's so complex. When we shift our thinking to who we can be or who we want to be, our body and our brain go there. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I don't have to stay in this victim mode anymore. I don't have to stay in the past. Like, who do you want to be? And now I'm getting ready to graduate with my doctorate. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be a doctor. This is crazy. Like,
I think right now seems to be a time where things are opening. A lot of things are falling apart, which is also giving us space. Do you have any spiritual practice?
I do. I was raised in the church, and it was being a gay guy growing up in church. Just talk about more guilt and shame. I think church is a place. I think all spirituality practices have a place, whether it's a sort of a stepping stone to the next level of our evolution or our expansion, right? I still believe in like Jesus and all these what I call avatars, Jesus and Buddha, but I think there's so much more. I think that it's kind of funny, we're sitting here in a radio station because I see myself as a radio station. Like when and I guess this is how I identify my spirituality is the more I'm tuned in, tapped in, tuned up, the more I can receive all the blessings God has for me. And I guess connecting this back to my point of where I used to feel like a victim and a cutter and depressed, that was my frequency, right? So that was where my dial was set. And when my dial's set there, that's all I can expect to receive. But when I learned to change the dial, when I learned to become sort of set my dial to owning my own practice and becoming a doctor, then I lined up with a different frequency. And that different frequency opens up all these really cool blessings for God to just rain on you. And I think with my spiritual practice, I think everybody has the same amount of blessings. There's not this pie that certain people, if they're political figures, they get more, or if they're billionaires, they get more of the pie, and people who live in a trailer and are on SNAP benefits get less of the pie. I think everybody has equal shares of this to the degree that we're willing to accept those blessings, right? I hope that makes sense, because that was the first time I said it out loud.
Yeah. I think that's really difficult if you're struggling. If you have no money and you're living in a trailer, you don't have...
And you're going to say, Charles, go to hell. Like, that's crazy talk.
I don't think it's crazy talk, but I think it's hard for people to understand. But what I'm hearing from you is if you're standing in an active presence of help.
Yeah.
You're looking for your own health. You're listening for what works for you.
Yeah.
Then that opens those blessings.
Right. And I guess I see, like, not to knock on anybody who lived in a trailer. My brother and I actually spent all of our summers in a trailer in hot, humid Southeast Texas. So I kind of miss it. It was fun. But growing up, there was a lot of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse in my house.
Were your parents anxious and depressed?
earlier when I talked about that I have a genetic condition called pyroluria, we were unable to test my mom or my grandmother, but I did see so much of that, of my behavior and my actions in them. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. And so thank God I actually got, I was actually able to find the cause. You know what I mean? I feel bad because I wish my mom and my grandma were such amazing, powerful women. They were badasses. But I saw them struggle with exactly what I was going through.
Are they still alive?
No, they've both passed away, yeah.
Is your dad still alive?
No, it's just my brother and I and like a couple cousins. Everybody's just getting up there in age. I mean, I'm 46 now. So like just circling back to what you were talking about, how when people hear what I just said, how it can make them so frustrated because maybe a disease condition is set in, right? And whether it's depression, anxiety, whether it's heart failure, or it's not having enough money or whatever it is. And this is something I do with my patients too. I don't want you to focus on your sickness. I want you to focus on your wellness. We hear misery loves company, right? We heard that, and it's true. It perpetuates more misery. And then you want to go talk about it. And you talk about it with this person and this person, this person. And then it just makes you more mad and more miserable. And before you know it, you've got this whole group of people that are on your side and miserable. And so, yes, illness is a real thing, but if I can get you to focus on your wellness, that's what God focuses on. That's what Jesus focuses on. Jesus was so massive at seeing people for who they were, who they are in their wholeness, whether it's financial abundance or whether it's health or whether it's whatever you want, whether you just want whatever you want out of life, whatever your dream is, that's your wholeness. And if I can get a patient to focus on their wellness, it changes the attitude. It starts to change the dynamic. And when we do that, they start to make different decisions. Mm-hmm. Their attitude changes. They start to drink more water. They start to incorporate better habits. And laughter and joy can start to come back in. But if we stay depressed, if we stay in our sickness, joy and happiness, what chance does it have? The blessings, what chance do they have to even get through that? If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to me, and I've been working with all of that for a long time.
And it doesn't mean that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but it doesn't mean that you have to go from unwellness to like perfectly healthy and well in the next day. But it's about how do we, just like when you flip, and I keep coming back to this radio analogy, but when you go to flip a dial, when you roll a dial, you go through all these different stations, right? Or substations and then finally you're at the one you wanted. And it's like that with life too, right? As you learn, like you had your heart issue and now you know to include more olive oil and you're making better heart healthy decisions. Well, you have to gradually get there. You can't go from 98.6 to 107.9 like that. That's crazy. But if you can go from 98.6 to 99.3 and so forth and start stepping your way in, then you change your vibration and you start allowing all these amazing blessings, the pie, to come to you.
So I had Lyme disease for probably 30, 40 years, and I suspect my mother had it. If it's that embedded in the system, it hits the moods, it hits emotions, and she was very erratic.
Sure.
And we didn't know. We had no idea. I would go to a doctor and say, I'm exhausted, and he'd say, it's low blood sugar, have a piece of bread.
Wow. Yeah.
Or have a candy bar.
Yeah, that sounds...
Yeah, that's where medicine took it. It's only since I got out here in the last, I've been here 16 years, and working with a naturopath and healers and with medicine. So I couldn't cut off any one. I had to find a balance. When you're in that...
Hard.
Yeah. So how do we, that we already have made jumps in our lives and changes, how do we encourage other people? Where do you take it from here?
You got to remember that to offer grace and mercy to everybody. And, we're so quick to judge because, so many health manifestations, we see it, right? We can see it. And especially me as with a trained eye, I can see it. And I used to go and oh, that person has this and this and this and this. And you have to come back to it. We'll see somebody who's overweight and we'll make judgment calls, or somebody who, whatever this case is, we make a judgment on people's appearances. Underneath it all, it's just love.
So let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
So we were talking about how do you reach out and support other people? And what you said made sense to me. You said, beginning with don't judge.
Yeah, you have to remember that everybody in front of you is somebody's mom, daughter, father, son, grandpa. Everybody, that person in front of you is nothing but just a big ball of love. And so we have to, when we stop judging, it allows space. It allows room for change to happen. Especially, when I was coming out of school, I would see these conditions and that manifest on people's skin or their hair or whatever it is. And I had to quickly back off and remember the person. I had to see them. This is a human being in front of me. They need love, they need grace, they need mercy. And from that standpoint, then my attitude and their attitude is going to be more susceptible to change, to making real change. We're just so quick to judge on people's physical characteristics. We assume that somebody who's overweight they're lazy, they're worthless.
And they're not trying.
Yeah, and they're not trying. And the truth is there could be genetics, there could be trauma, family trauma, there could be a number of things. Something happens when you just walk up to that person and you just show up with an acceptance of love that they're a real person too. And it softens the whole interaction. I say that from a doctor perspective, that I have to do that with my patients. I choose to see that because they're people.
Mm-hmm. It makes perfect sense. I had such a great thing happen today. I went to Trader Joe's and I got up.
I love their barbecue sauce, by the way.
I love their people.
Oh, yeah, they're always fun.
They're always really sweet. It's just the whole mood of the place is fine. And I got up to the counter and there was a woman there and I loved her hair color. And I said, oh, I like your hair. And she couldn't hear me at first, but she was really closed off and said, what? And I repeated myself, and all of a sudden she just like, really? I thought it wasn't right. And then the woman at the cash register said, oh, no, it's gorgeous. I really like it. She was a young woman. And this woman just brightened up. She looked like she was skipping out of the store.
I love that.
And I thought, oh, it's just so simple. It was connection, whatever the connection was. Oh, you bought bananas today. I'm buying bananas. And she was, you could see the difference in her from when I came up to when she left.
And when you do that, right, you just created this beautiful, openness for really cool things to happen. Because I know it sounds cliche, a little silly, but a smile or a simple little compliment can change the darkest of hearts. Do you know what I mean?
It can change somebody's day.
Well, it gives them hope.
Yeah.
And like I said, going back, when I went to undergraduate, people knock education. It's too expensive. It's too this. It's too business. It's too whatever it is. Education changes you. Maybe it's got some things that need to be worked out. Still, it is very expensive. But my professors, exactly what we're talking about, my professors saw me not for who I thought I was. They saw me for who I could be, right? And so if I see a patient for who they could be, that literally sets the tone for moving forward. You saw that woman today at Trader Joe's for how beautiful she was. And she didn't feel that way. You saw her And then she was able to see it for herself. And so, I say this too at the tea booth. In case anybody doesn't know, I run a tea booth on the weekend. That's how I met Miss Hillary.
At the Trading Post, JT Trading Post.
Yeah, it's such a great place. But one of the questions I ask all my customers when they come up to try tea is I say, tell me the best thing that happened to you today. And they'll be like, oh, I woke up. And I was like, nope, don't give me that generic. We all woke up. Tell me the best thing that happened. Well, I've only been awake for an hour. Okay, great. What was the best thing that happened to you in this last hour? And it's so funny because people don't know. Then they'll be like, oh, I had a really great breakfast, or I woke up next to my wife, or I got to play with my little boy today and we're on vacation. And so it's so cool because it takes people out of this perception of like who they used to be or whatever, and it puts them in a cooler. It's like, oh, yeah, there's good. You know what I mean? It puts, I don't know how to say this. It just gets people to focus on really great potential.
You said that beautifully.
It's so funny because, you say things, you're like, what did I just say? Did that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. And doing this publicly like I am now, I don't know, I walk away sometimes, oh, I spoke too much. I did that, Doesn't matter. The feeling matters.
Yeah.
If we connect, and if one person hears this and goes, oh, maybe I should think about what I'm eating today, or maybe I should look at my life as beautiful and blessed instead of thinking that it's awful.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you are in your steps to health and wellness. It doesn't matter where you are in your sickness. Give yourself grace and mercy. Let yourself off the hook. We are so judgmental of others, but damn if we're not more critical of ourselves. And just be nice to yourself. Damn, have fun. We see, there's a lot of research that actually shows attitude, perception changes stress. It changes behavior. It changes our physiology. But until you offer yourself grace and mercy, that's how you start to climb out of the hole. That's how you start to climb out of whatever the situation is, whether it's an illness, whether it's a financial situation.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions as we're starting to come to the end of this. We have time, but...
There's podcasts out there that are like 3 hours. We have plenty of time, Hillary.
I know. I usually keep it around to that. But there'll be some editing. So what was the best thing that happened to you today?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So I wish you would have asked me about that yesterday, because some really cool things happened yesterday. So today, I think the coolest thing that happened to me, I don't know if I could say this. I don't know how, this is so funny. So I was you're going to edit this if it doesn't work. So it's fine. Owning my own business and doing my doctorate, I make all these excuses in life to why I don't have more fun or why I ate In-N-Out last night at 10 o'clock. But I have a good reason for that, actually. But I haven't really been in the mood to date or even look up from my computer when I'm at the coffee shop to even notice anybody. And I did today. And I flirted my face off, and I was so smooth with it, though. I was so smooth. I wasn't an idiot. I didn't overjudge myself, like we were just talking about. I just went with it. And it was fun. And it gave me this feeling of oh, okay, wait, I can be a doctoral student. I can own my business, and I can be fun and flirty. You know what I mean? You don't always have to be serious and intense. Have some fun. So I did.
That's great.
Yeah. I won't tell you what happened after that, but no.
I've been hearing something from the astrologers. I don't know anything about the astrology, but I like listening to them because there's themes that are coming up.
It drives me crazy.
What does?
Astrology. Because I believe it too much. So I just have to I had to get away from it. I'm like, no.
Well, what they're saying is this December, this month we're in, is very magical, and to take advantage of it, explore, do something sort of out of the ordinary, and be silly.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember, I know I've done something recently that was just fun and silly. Whatever that was, finding garbage in the desert streets, the dirt roads.
I love that our streets are dirt roads.
Dirt roads. And photographing them. I mean, that's fun to me.
Oh, how cool.
You know, I'm just saying, there's all sorts of little things that you can do.
And like yesterday, and I wish we all paid more attention to our own inner guidance system, our gut, right? But I feel like we grow up and our parents and our friends and our teachers and our bosses, they all tell us who we have to be or what we should think or how we should behave. And we don't listen to our gut. But, you know, I've needed a infusion. I donate a lot of blood, right? I just like to, whatever. I just donate blood. Well, I've been doing it so much, like every 5 weeks consistently for years. And my doctor finally said, hey, you want to know why you feel like shit? And I said, yeah, because I'm over here like racking my brain. And I'm trying to be a doctor and I can't even figure out what's wrong with me. And he goes, you have no iron. He's like, you've given so much blood that you haven't given your body a chance for irons. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hello. And that manifests anemia, like severe anemia manifests so many different ways in the body. So I've been trying to work with this infusion center down in Palm Springs, and they were just giving me the runaround with my health insurance, right? So look, going all the way back to health insurance, it was a nightmare. And I called the lady finally, and I'm like, look, I'm a practitioner. And I'm like, I'm trying to get a simple procedure done, and you guys are making it so complicated. And you're a cancer center. What do patients really go through who don't have my sort of level of awareness how all this stuff works? And I was like, you're crazy. And so I called my doctor, and I was like, look, I'm not going through this because I want to get this done. And I want to start to feel better. And he goes, well, there's a center in LA that you can just come and do it and pay cash. And I was like, okay, I'll call him right now. And they got me in. So I drove to LA yesterday, 3 hours there.
What did you get? Did you get blood?
I had to have no. I had to have an iron infusion, which it's just a simple little thing.
You can go out here, right in town in Joshua Tree. There's a vitamin place and they do infusions.
But I don't think they do medical iron infusions. I'll have to check because
check with them.
My doctor had to submit all my labs because we don't want to give you too much iron.
Because I need some of that, and they were doing these, it's called a mini Meyer.
That's a Myers cocktail.
Myers cocktail.
Yeah, so that's vitamins and things like that.
Okay.
This was just iron, and there's 3 different types of iron that will do in IV treatments. I wanted a specific one, and that most centers won't do it, but this center in LA had it.
Okay.
And
it's different.
And so I went down there and I did it. And again, it was $429 cash. But going back to barriers of healthcare.
Yes.
That's it.
That's
Somebody, thank goodness I had to take the money out. That was my rent money. But, but I chose my own health and wellness. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. But there was something in my inner gut that's like, go to LA, go to LA, go to LA. So I go to LA and I'm sitting there in the infusion and there's another family in there. And we had the most amazing conversation. And they actually, I'm going to walk them through. They're going through a really heavy situation. That's why they're there. But we got to talk, and I actually get to take them on now as clients and get to help them navigate the system. So they're lovely, lovely humans that have the mother has such a desire to care for her children and will stop at nothing. And that was so cool to see her passion and her fire. So yeah, trusting our gut, listening to our gut is really cool because it forced me to drive. It's 3 hours to LA and 8 hours back. And so it was like, but I was like, I'm getting this done. And I did it. And I got to meet this beautiful family and make change.
Isn't that great?
It's cool.
So another question. If you were to go back and to meet little Charles, what would you say to him?
Dude, I would give him... Oh my God, it's so funny because when you go through all these different rehabs, when I was talking about when you go through all these like depression, anxiety rehabs, they do all this inner child therapy. I would pump him up. I wouldn't focus on the trauma. I wouldn't focus on all that stuff, I would literally just tell him, like, dude, you're a badass. You can, I would say to him, you can do, be, or have anything you want. That's it. And I think that's true for everybody. Like, you could do, be, or have anything you want. And if little Charlie would have had that, you know, but he hasn't now, so it's okay. But I have to remind myself that every day too.
Well, I really hope that's a conversation that we can get out there and to penetrate different cultures, different areas of our small town, and so that we can get that through to people, you know, and give them some hope.
Yeah, and, you know, you bring up the different cultures, and we have a lot of cultures here.
Yes.
And respect for that. And that even extends into healthcare. We look at that and we respect cultural diets, religious preferences. You have to, in the way we manage their care. So, yeah, I think just encouraging. And I think it all starts with, how do we see them? Mm-hmm. When we see somebody who looks different than us, or whose physical well-being presents differently than what we idolize or whatever, how do you see them?
Well, and politically, that's a big thing right now. How do you respect somebody who's on a different...
Oh, my God, I ran into that today.
Did you?
Oh, boy. So and it's so weird, like, we live in such a small town.
Yes.
So you have to, like, be very vague. So I went to one of my favorite places in the high desert here. We'll broaden the spectrum here. I don't know how, and I saw something that politically didn't align with me. That was opposite. And originally I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go in here and tell this person. I'm like, whose car is that? Whose bumper sticker is that? It was a bumper sticker on the back of somebody's car that worked there. And I was like, oh. So I was in the store. They were offering to help me, and I could tell I was being a little shit ass. And I was like, hey. And so I had to check myself, because it was like, but it was my instinct. And I'm like, wait. They probably regret it. They probably regret their bumper sticker. Maybe they just need me to give them a razor blade so they can scrape it off now.
Maybe they don't see it at all.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I've really struggled with this. That's why it's coming up for me, because I have a couple people very close to me.
Yeah.
That, like, I won't. I'll cut that. I won't say. I have some people close to me, and we're on different spectrums there.
Absolutely.
And I have to but what we have for each other is love. So I need to accept that and not try to change anybody.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. My best friend is, we're opposite ends of that spectrum. But I love her so much, and we've had some falling outs over the years. But she knows me more than anybody probably ever will, and she's the one person that I literally could trust with any aspect of my life, regardless of the difference. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I struggle with that too. But it's okay. It's I think it's that contrast that makes me find a different solution and focus on love more.
And that's great.
Because if we all thought the same, if we all voted the same, if we all ate the same, if we all did the same thing, we'd all look the same, and we'd all, you know what I mean?
We wouldn't grow.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. And I think we're here for that. I think we're here to expand and to keep learning and growing and creating.
What's next for you? You're graduating when?
Oh, God, a nap.
When are you graduating? June
19th.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how would people can reach you now and work with you, right?
Yeah, so I do I own a company called Mountain Valley Farm, like I talked about, but you can reach me at mountainvalleyfarm.org. You can send a message to me, and we can set up some time, like 20, 30 minutes, just free of charge, just have a conversation to figure out where you're at, if it is something that is within my skill set, my scope. If not, how can I help refer you out? But you can find me here I'm always at Frontier in Yucca.
At the cafe.
I'm at the cafe, yeah, always doing my homework. You'll notice me because I have my head down. But today I flirted with that guy, so that was kind of fun. Yeah, so if he's listening, or at the Joshua Tree Trading Post on Saturday and Sunday, I have I bring an apothecary line. I make botanical products, and so I bring those there. So you can find me there from 9 to 3.
That's great. And thank you.
Of course. This was so much fun. Thank you.
It really was fun. We could go on for hours. We're going to do some more.
Okay, good.
Other conversations maybe focusing on a specific thing.
Yeah, and men's health is important to me.
Men's health is really important.
But so is female health. And it's really cool because I have the tea booth, right? I have the apothecary booth at the Trading Post. And I always introduce myself as a doctoral student in clinical nutrition. And I do that because it sort of breaks the ice and it allows people to feel safe to step into my booth and have conversations. And I hear every day what people are struggling with, whether it's their child, whether it's the father, the mother, the grandma, whoever it is. Like, I hear it all the time. And sometimes they're big. Sometimes it's cancer. Sometimes it's heart failure. Sometimes it's just I need sleep. I need to tweak my sleeping habits. But it's really cool to have that space. I didn't know it was going to manifest over that as I've been doing this for 3 years. But it's really cool to have that space in our community where people are coming and starting those conversations. It gives us the ability to start those conversations.
It's great. That's what this is about.
I know. This is just a bigger extension. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles, and thank everyone for listening. Charles displayed generosity, honesty, and grounded wisdom in this conversation. His story reminds me that healing isn't a straight line. It's a frequency we gradually learn to tune into. With patience, guidance, community, and a willingness to view ourselves differently. If you'd like to learn more or work with Charles, you can find him at mountainvalleyfarm.org or at his apothecary booth at the JT Trading Post on weekends. If this episode sparked something in you, a question, a sense of possibility, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, share the podcast with somebody who might enjoy it, and join us for future Driftwood Circles in Joshua Tree. Until next time, stay curious